Hey y'all, what's going on? It's India Delgado with Delgado Productions, and today I'm back with a follow-up video on Filmic Pro. So the other day I created a video on NDI and how to get your camera signal wirelessly into your streaming software, whether that's EcammLive, vMix, or OBS, and partnering it up with Filmic Pro to get clean HDMI out. And since then, I've had some questions on the settings for Filmic Pro and how exactly to get the clean HDMI signal out. So I decided to make a quick video to show you guys the settings that I have, what you need to turn on, and how you need to make Filmic Pro work so that when you do take advantage of NDI, everything works as it should. So let's get right into it. So what I'm going to do is I already have NDI HX capture running in the background. It's broadcasting already to my EcammLive software, and I have Filmic Pro already up and sending the signal over so that I can just show you guys clean HDMI and the settings that you need to turn off or on to get that working. So what you're looking at now is my iPhone camera sending the signal wirelessly to my EcammLive using NDI and Filmic Pro. Obviously, right now you can see it's not a clean screen, right? It's not clean HDMI. But all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tap the button, and once I tap the screen, so let me show you this way. I tap the screen and now you can see everything, right? It's dirty HDMI. We're gonna tap the screen again and there you go. It removes everything. So I'll do that one more time. You can see me tapping the screen, right? And everything comes up on my face. And now I'm gonna tap the screen again. And now it's a clean signal. Okay. So now I swapped into my mode so you can see me, and on the main camera screen, that's my iPhone that we're using as the camera, and I'm using Filmic Pro. So this view over here is Filmic Pro, and that's what you're seeing on the screen. So you can see there's some settings. It shows that I'm going to be streaming 4K or recording 4K, 60 frames per second. Battery levels, you have your focus box, you have your settings, you have your little shutter button to take a picture or to start recording, right? So this is non-clean HDMI. That's what everybody can talk about between clean HDMI and dirty HDMI. I went in and unchecked all the settings to try to make my software look like what yours would look like if you haven't touched anything yet and you're setting this up for the first time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the settings icon on the bottom right hand side. It looks like a little gear or the little cog next to the play button. We're gonna open that up, and that gives us a lot of options. I'm not going to do a deep dive here. I'll pay attention to some of the comments. Leave me some comments down below and let me know if you'd like me to go a little bit further into some of these options. But for now, this video is going to just focus on getting your clean HDMI out using Filmic Pro. So the first section that we're going to go into is into the hardware, the little toolbar, the wrench. So I have my streaming setting or my recording setting on Filmic Pro to 4K 60 frames per second. Depending on your setup, you may or may not get this message. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on clean HDMI out. And this is basically telling me that based off of my particular configuration, clean HDMI out is not supported above 30 frames per second in 4K. And above 60 frames per second in 1080p. Please reduce your resolution / frames per second to enable this feature. I'm going to hit OK. So what that means is that if you want to send the signal out via HDMI above 60 frames per second, Filmic Pro is not capable of doing that. So if you want 4K, it needs to be 30 frames per second. If you're going to do 60 frames per second, then you need to stream at 1080p, or you need to send the signal out through 1080p. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now we're going to go into your second set of options. We're going to click on device, and here is where the options that you really need to make sure are turned on. These options need to be toggled on. So if we're going to scroll down, you want to make sure this is one of the most important things in order to send out a clean feed to your streaming software is tap to hide interface. If you don't have that turned on, then this is not going to work. So you want to make sure that you tap to hide interface. That's turned on the way I have it turned on. So I'm leaving hide reticles with interface unchecked, right? But what does that do? What does that mean? I'm going to back out and I'm going to tap the screen, and the reticles are your focus, your volume slider, and your focus, like direct focus here, right? You can choose your focus point there if you want your lock-in focus. Because we left the tap to hide reticles unchecked, that's why you're still seeing that on the screen. So you definitely want to make sure that that is checked. Let's go back to settings. We're going to go back to our device. We're going to hide reticles with interface. The zoom rocker is this over here on the right hand side. You can zoom in or you can zoom out, right? So we'll go here a little bit, and that shows you the zoom. It's maxed out zoom, and now we're just gonna go back, and that's regular. I don't really use that, so I'm gonna go back and I'm going to hide that as well. And I'm going to turn on volume keys trigger recording, because what that does is, in theory, everyone usually holds their phone kind of like this when they're taking a picture, right? They hold their phone like this somehow, and their thumbs are right along the volume rocker. So what's going to happen is, if I want to now not fumble around and try to get the screen and all of that stuff, I'm going to continue to hold it. My thumb is already placed where the volume rocker is. I'm going to push in on the volume rocker, and now it's automatically recording. And you can see that it's recording because the circle on the lower right hand side went from white to red. I'm going to go ahead and press in again, and now it went back to white. So that's this thumb over here. That's where the volume buttons are. I'm going to go ahead and press in, and now that went and started recording. Press out, and that stopped recording. So I'm going to leave that back on. You want to make sure that your preview active is turned on. Tap to hide interface is the most important thing. Make sure that's turned on. And then hiding reticles with interface is extremely important as well. Hiding zoom rocker, triggering recording. So now you can see me over here, right? You can see that the screen is not clean. We set up our settings. So all I'm going to do now is tap the screen, and everything has been removed from the screen. The one other thing before I go that I want to show you guys is, you can see on the iPhone you have the bar down in the bottom middle, right? You see I'm gonna kind of hold that up. It highlighted white. So that actually stays on the screen. The only way you can get rid of that, I mean, it's not as distracting, so I'm not even sure if you had realized that unless I pointed it out. But if you did realize that and it is distracting and you want to turn that off, you should be able to, in your software, crop the image out. That's the only way you're going to be able to get that off of the screen, per se, by cropping the image out. For me, it's not that big of a deal, so I leave it on. But what I'll do is, because I'm using EcammLive, I'm going to turn on live demo mode. So I zoomed in. We're on live demo mode. You're seeing my EcammLive screen, and I'm showing you the camera settings where in EcammLive you can go ahead and you can crop in on an image. So we're going to, all of your cameras that you have connected under camera effects will show up under this drop down. So right now I only have 2 of my cameras connected, and obviously I'm showing you my Pro Max. So I'm gonna click on that, and now you see here, this shows you this image down here, right? Zoom and pan. It's not checked. So what we want to do is we're going to click on zoom and pan, and now I can go ahead and I can zoom in. So we only want to zoom in until we get rid of that white bar. And so I only had to zoom in a little bit. And now what I do want you guys to keep in mind is that if we zoom in, it's gonna zoom in to the top, bottom, left, and right. So if there are things that are pivotal that you want, to see on your left and right image, you want to make sure that over on the sides, the tops, that does not get cropped out. If not, you may just have to leave it. So I just wanted to show you guys exactly where in Ecamm you needed to go ahead and zoom it in and out. It's under camera effects. If you're using OBS, it's going to be a different way to crop in your image. You can just drag and drop when you crop it in, or in OBS, you can hit Alt and just drag up and just cut the bottom up. And in vMix, I'm not sure, but I imagine it must be pretty much similar to Ecamm, where you crop in an image. I'm going to go ahead now using the zoom and pan option that I showed you guys. I'm just going to zoom in. So it looks like 4 on my particular setup is the smallest amount, or the least amount that I can zoom in and get rid of that bottom handle. Now you see it's a completely clean HDMI. There is nothing on the screen. I'll take myself off. Completely clean HDMI. Nothing on the screen, no handles, amazing quality, right? Look at the details. That's fantastic quality. And there you have it. That's your clean HDMI out. Those are the settings that you would need to make sure that either are turned on or turned off if you're using Filmic Pro to send your camera signal into your streaming device, whether that's Ecamm, OBS, vMix, or anything like that. You want to make sure that the most important options turned on are tap to hide interface, tap to hide reticles, and clean HDMI out needs to be turned on. Super simple. So I hope that you guys got some information. I hope that this helped you to set up your Filmic Pro properly. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and catch me on the next one. Talk to you guys soon.